try to go under 10 minutes too, so we can have more time for discussion. So hi everyone, my name is Gabby. I am a lecturer here and a former undergrad. I was here for a really long time. I was a non-traditional student working full-time. Most of the time I was here. So I'm really honored to be talking about the New Leader Scholarship because I feel like this scholarship was pivotal in my graduation from here and my entry into UC Berkeley, and now sort of just like opened my world as an academic. So the New Leader Scholarship, for those of you who don't know, was started by a professor emerita here. Her name is Dr. Ruth Goldman. She was in the psychology department. She actually started in 1968-69 school year, and when the strike happened, she and other psychology faculty members supported the strike. And that strike was very pivotal for her because she realized that having more of a diverse representation in faculty was extremely important, not just in the new ethnic studies field, but just in psychology and all the other departments. So she made a commitment to diversify the psychology faculty in just all the different departments she worked in. She was, I think, coordinator of the clinical program and other departments. And this sort of sowed the seeds for what later became the New Leader Scholarship. So when she retired, I don't know exactly what year she retired. I was the second recipient of the scholarship, which the scholarship started in 2001. She decided that she wanted to focus her efforts on creating pathways for underrepresented students, whether they were undocumented other immigrant students, students of color, and just low-income students in general. And it was something from the beginning that was something more than just money. It was a way, her belief was that what marginalized communities are lacking, there's a lot of things that we lack under oppression, but one is access to social capital. We don't we all know it's like who you know is how you get ahead. And we don't know anyone in that upper echelon, it's really hard to get ahead. It's more than just we don't live in a meritocracy. I always tell my students, I teach educational inequality. If we lived in a meritocracy, the world would be a very different place than it is. So she started this scholarship, her husband, and then there's now a large board of people who are on board for this. Sorry, I've been teaching all week. My brain has stopped working. So she really thought that mentorship was important. Mentorship and these connections so that we could, so if you wanted to be a doctor, how are you going to make those connections in the medical field? If you want to be an academic, how are you going to make those connections in the medical field? For me, I had no idea, I didn't even think about grad school because I didn't even understand half the terms that were used. When people said they wanted a CV, I was too ashamed to even ask what a CV was. I didn't have the cultural capital and the social capital to get ahead. So I want to share a little bit about my story and how this scholarship helped me to give an understanding of what this scholarship does. First, just for those of you who teach, I know some of you teach at community college, but for those of you who teach at any CS school or university, in any public university in the Bay Area, your students as juniors or seniors are eligible for this scholarship. Even if they're fourth year seniors and they're going to be a fifth year senior, super senior, they're eligible for it. So just I'll give you the criteria first, and I'll tell you about my experience. So the criteria is they need to fit one of those criteria of underserved, whether that means first generation student of color, undocumented, or other immigrant student. They also need to be in a public university and have a commitment to social justice and other sort of community activism in a broad definition of that. So for me, I was here for many years working full-time and going to school part-time. I just could never really I could never prioritize my education because it's really hard to be working 30, 40 hours a week. I see this with my students here now, and then be trying to do homework or juggling all these other things. I also was very precariously housed. I was homeless for part of my time here and precariously housed in those other times. And my senior year, my last year, I decided, well, right before my last year, I was like, I'm gonna apply for a scholarship. I don't even understand how to do this, but I wanna see what it's like. And this was the scholarship that I applied for. And I really thought it would just be about the money. It was so exciting to think about having at least a semester without having to work full time. But it was way more than that. It was this, I entered into this family. This family is now 100 scholars strong. of people who actually cared about my goals in life and were willing to give me the tools I needed to move ahead. So just everything from, I mean, if you need dental care or therapy, there's somebody there for that. So everything from that aspect to it, to how to write a CV, how to mentor students, because now I'm a mentor. Like, how do I advise my students? How can I help? How do I write a letter of recommendation for my students so that they can get into graduate school? So when I was finishing up at San Francisco State, I really didn't think, like I said, grad school was for me. Through this larger family, they not only help you as an undergraduate, if you get the scholarship as an undergraduate, they will then help you with your GRE prep up to $2,500. They'll help you with all your application fees for your for applying to all different universities, because that is again another barrier to applying. It's like $135, right, to apply for grad school. And then if you got it as an undergraduate, you also can, as long as you go to a public university as a graduate student, you continue to get the fellowship. So you just know that you're going to be taken care of until you learn how to apply for other money. Because at UC Berkeley, it's a very different world than San Francisco State. It's like a world of extreme privilege where students don't need to apply for financial aid. So I was not one of those students. So I was really grateful for this fellowship, this scholarship to help me along in that route. And now I'm able to give back in other ways. So I'm a member of Underground Scholars, which is an organization for formerly incarcerated students at UC Berkeley. And I'm able to talk to them. We're able to present about this scholarship. I've been able to help 3 of those Underground Scholars get into the fellowship, as well as other people. So, you know, many undocumented students at UC Berkeley campus. I'm new here, so I don't know what the scholarships are like there. They feel like, you know, they're not eligible for money. Like all these, when I go to my advisor and they give me this list of scholarships, these scholarships are not for me. New Leader Scholar is one of those scholarships that is open to undocumented scholars. So the career guidance is also really important. So you get paired with a mentor, and it can help you decide like what you want to do afterwards. Because many of us were like, I see this now actually with my students here. I'm learning my students here. They're like, I'm in this major, but I actually don't know what I want to do when I grow up. Like, I have no idea what kind of job this major is going to give me. And being a part of this fellowship, you actually can talk to people who are in these different fields to figure out whether this is for you or whether something else is for you. So I can talk more about my specific story about what this scholarship is. I mean, you can always Google it too, newleaderscholar.org. But I'll let other people have a chance to talk first. Thanks.